Hold up, before we begin, I have a question to ask you. Are you ready to go complete beast mode t-shirt designer? If you answered yes, let's begin. Welcome back to the channel, friends. My name is Charley Pangus and I am so happy that you are here. Today I am sharing my 2023 formula for designing t-shirt graphics. I posted this design in my community tab and you guys seem to absolutely love it. So I thought, why not break it down in this video and go over what I was thinking and kind of my strategy for approaching a design like this. So you're gonna learn some new things today. And when you leave this video, you should have a better understanding of how I approach my designs, and hopefully you can apply that to your designs. And honestly, I wouldn't be where I'm at without sponsors. So I wanna thank my sponsor today over at Applique. Applique is a print-on-demand service that integrates seamlessly with e-commerce platforms such as Shopify. They invited me out to their LA headquarters where I saw exactly why they are one of the top print-on-demand companies in the world. Their attention to detail and their private labeling made this one of the best choices, in my opinion, for print-on-demand. So if you're looking to start a clothing brand, you definitely want to check out Applique, and they're completely free. There's no monthly charge. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description below to get started. So this is the photo that I use. So what I want to do is just copy it. So I'm Command-C'ing on my keyboard to copy that over, and I'm just going to paste it into my document. Now, I am working with a dark garment on this one. Like if I were to print it, I wanted it on a black shirt, right? I know I do a lot of stuff on black shirts. That's just what I like. So this is the final right here, minus the text. I actually ended up taking that off. I didn't like it, but this is what we're gonna potentially make, right? But I'm not gonna copy it exactly. What I really care about today is just going over exactly how I approached it. So this is our final, and this is what we have now. So how do we get there, right? So what I did to approach this was first, obviously, eliminate the orange background. What I actually like to do is create a solid color fill above and use that for my background color, just because I can change it on the fly way easier instead of adding, like, let's say a color overlay or something. So that's what I would first do, and then delete the layer mask because I don't need that. So this is our new background, or we can name this fabric color or shirt color. Doesn't really matter. The easiest way to remove the background on this particular photo is to use Adobe Sensei. So I'm just going to click on the layer that has the skull, which is this one, and we're going to head down to properties, and I'm just going to click select subject. That way I can visualize what it's actually selecting, and you'll see what I'm saying. So as you can see, it made a selection. Now it's not perfect, but what I could do is just take my lasso tool and start actually adding the selection back by holding in shift. So I'm just holding in shift with my lasso tool and making that selection. So it will actually, select what I want it to select. Around the neck area, I can hold in shift and select this too. I don't even need that section anyway. So in all honesty, we could just get rid of it. But for the sake of this, I'm just going to show you how I would select everything. There you go. So now at this point, we can honestly, well, we forgot the tooth down here. So let's get that. We do want to make sure we get this part good though, because we are keeping that. So we want to make sure that that is selected properly. That's pretty much it. And it's already got that orange, which is beautiful because flames are orange, yellow, red, and it kind of already matches. So we're going to keep that. And then we're going to right click on the layer mask and basically just apply layer mask. By applying that layer mask, it is going to flatten the layer, but we have a backup in case we need it. And the reason why I flattened it is because I want to add another layer mask so I can start blending my flames into the skull. So let's go ahead and add another layer mask. And this is going to be our skull. And now let's go grab our flames, and I found a lot of these flames on like Pexels and Envato Elements, and then we could just drag that into our new document. We could just copy and paste them into the new document too, so it doesn't really matter how you do it. We don't need this one anymore, so I can just close that out. We don't need this one, and I think we're missing one maybe. I think it was this one. So we just cut that and paste it. So now we have all the flames. So now we can start applying our flame. And what I like to do is change the blend mode to screen so I can see exactly where this flame would sit relative to the skull. I like this one because it kind of wraps around the left eye. You can see it's like almost fitting perfectly right there. And the only thing I didn't like about it is that it's lacking some, It's lacking fullness. But we can fix that by adding another flame in the middle there. Besides that though, it's a really good one. So we're gonna keep that. And then let's go ahead and toggle this one on. We could duplicate it so we have two copies. And let's just change the blend mode to screen and then drag that in place as well. And then we can press Command T, rotate it a little bit. So I'm just kind of placing my elements where I need them to be. And the only issue is we are running out of room. So let's go ahead and resize things just so we have more room to work with. Something like that. Cool. And we can start warping things now at this point too. So I like to get down and dirty to it, just like get it done, right? And I think that the flames would have a little bit more motion. You know what I'm saying? Like he's like blowing in the wind, especially with the positioning of his face where he's facing. To warp, I just press Command T and then you can just literally click this button up here, and then it will start allowing you to warp when you click that. But the problem is, like, you can also use things like liquefy. I personally like doing it this way. It's just a little faster for me. And as you can see, I'm kind of just making sure that it kind of fits where I want it to fit. Kind of right here. We're going to mask that top part out. And then we could bring this part down a little bit more, have it kind of look like it's actually in motion, if you will. And then that's pretty much it. There's nothing more to it, honestly, than this. It's just a lot of trial and error. So that looks pretty good. You don't want it to look so fake. So you do have to be kind of careful there. But before we even add the other flame, honestly, what I like to do is I like to work on the first layer and blend that. So right now what I'm going to do is go to my layer mask on the skull, and I'm going to start painting with black. And I have a flow of 100% when I'm doing this, just so you know, and just start painting. That way I can kind of see where I'm going to be keeping things and where I'm going to be eliminating things. I hope that makes sense. I just need to kind of figure out what I'm keeping and what I'm not keeping, essentially. That's it. And then we already have a layer mask on the first flame, so we can name this flame 1 head, so we know where that is located. And then we can start painting some of these flames out so they blend a little better with our skull. See, there's really nothing to it. Like, once you start doing it, it's just like second nature. This isn't going to be the easiest thing in the world, obviously, but once you do it a couple times, you start to get the hang of it. But yeah, on this one, I'm going to stop there, and let's go and toggle this other flame on now. Now we can grab this other flame, which is, we're just going to name this flame 2. Now, the only issue with this flame is it does not match the same color, but we're going to fix that in a second. So do not worry about that. Really what's important is just placing it where it needs to go. Again, we're trying to make this look more full. So let's resize these and have it kind of right there. And again, we're going to warp it so we can kind of make it a little bit more squished, if you will. So it's not peeking out of our canvas. So I kind of want it like this. To me, that looks pretty good. And we can even utilize this other side too. So I can probably chop this off on the right side. There you go. And then change the blend mode to this one as well. And then let's go ahead and add a layer mask to this and start painting. So again, it's just a balancing act. It's funny how easy this is. It just takes time. And again, this right side, or it would be his left side, is a little weak. So we could duplicate this layer and honestly flip it and just make it look like that's also part of the party, if you will. So there is a lot of like duplicating and stuff you have to do, but once you get the hang of that, it's really not that bad. We could probably use a different flame for that side, actually, now that I look at it, but we are looking pretty good on this side. Now, if I wanted to fix the color, I can literally just go up to image adjustments, or even do it down here. But I'm gonna go to our adjustments and go to hue and saturation and just change the tint of the flames so they match the other flames. So basically just changing the hue, and that's literally all you have to do for that. And obviously it will match way better now. And then from here, let's go ahead and look at our other flames just to see what we have. We can honestly use this side, the one that we just cut, to make it look more full. And I think I'm going to do that, actually. Yeah. And then we could just make sure we change the hue of it real quick. If we wanted to do that first, we could do that. Make it look red. There we go. Now it matches. Add a layer mask. And even before adding a layer mask, let's warp it. Again, we want to make sure it actually looks like it belongs there. That looks pretty good. So let's add a layer mask. We don't want any of this part. And if you don't like the way it looks, obviously you can mess with it a little bit more. I mean, it's not as cool as my original. I'll be honest with you guys. Like, I'm not liking it as much, but it's also not like a huge deal. It's just really the technique that I'm trying to go over today. I'm not trying to mimic my original because I spent much more time on that one, obviously. And that's another thing I recommend, is just spend as much time as you can on a composition, because that's how they're going to look the best, obviously. And if you rush something, it's going to look rushed, right? So you don't want to rush it. Where the neck is, we can start adding some flames down there too. So I'm just going to start masking the neck out a little bit more. And let's take another copy of flames and potentially use those for the bottom. So let's change the blend mode to screen and kind of figure out where we want this flame to sit. I really like how I like how this one's kind of wrapping around the neck a little bit more. So we can start warping this in place. Sort of like that. Not perfect, but you want to be careful not to warp it too much. I think I went a little overboard when I did that, but that's okay. All right, cool. That doesn't look terrible. It definitely can use a little bit of work, but again, it's not terrible. We're gonna add another flame right there anyway to make it look like it's more full. I'm duplicating the flames a bunch, as you can see, just to make that skull look a lot more full. And if you need to, you can always go grab more flames too. You know, you can never have enough to try to make something like this, right? Because like this is like a complicated piece. It's going to have intricacies and there's going to be a lot of pieces involved. So it's okay if you get a little messy in order to find the solution that you're looking for, if that even makes sense. But with this one, I always found that it's okay to get a little bit of messiness going and kind of refine it as you go. If the skull were to be lit up and it was chrome like this, it would have cast of color, right? So we need to try to replicate that. So in order to do that, I'm just going to add a hue and saturation layer above everything. And I want to add, I want to check colorize, and then we're going to raise the saturation up. And then from here, you just want to try to match the color closely. So about right there is fine. And then that layer mask, we can invert it and start using a soft round brush painting black, or sorry, white, to add that color back in. Because again, this skull is on fire, so it's going to have a cast of color, and you want to make sure that you accurately paint that in where it needs to be painted in. And you can always like add a little bit more on purpose and then delete as you go. So it's a lot of painting and then removing and just painting again. It's a lot of work. It's not fast. There's no fast way of making this look really good. This isn't AI generated art, you know, you're not gonna get like instant results. But I like this because it just shows you how to actually do stuff instead of trying to rely on AI for everything. Like I like AI, but I also, you know, think there's a place for it. And I obviously think that it's never going to replace a true artist, a true designer that actually spends time creating art. We can even change the flow a little bit more and make it like a little bit more subtle, which I think actually might look a little better. Anyway, it doesn't have to be perfect, but now I'm going to show you another trick, another secret. I'm going to be sharing so much more in my course coming out next month, because we kind of pushed it. We had to push it back a little bit, the release date. It was supposed to be the end of this month, but we got really busy. So we're actually going to be launching the new course next month, and I will link that in the description below if you guys want to learn more or sign up. Anyway, the secret that I want to tell you now is basically how I apply my halftone pattern. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to group everything together now. So we have everything in a group, and this can be our skull on fire. And I'm just going to press Command A, Shift Command C, and then I'm going to go to a new document now. Let's open up a new document. There we go. And I'm going to basically resize it. So I'm going to go image size, and we're going to scale this up to 1000. And then we just want this to be smooth since we are working with smooth gradients. Press OK. So now we have something that looks like this, right? So what I want to do now is go up to filter, and we're going to go all the way down to pixelate, and then we're going to add a color halftone, and we want this to be a halftone of about 8. So you can keep it on default, that's completely fine. So now you're going to get something that looks like this. Now we're going to go ahead and scale it back down. So I'm going to go image size, and let's go down to, what was it, 300, which is our original document size. Again, you want to resample it with smooth gradients. There you go. I'm going to press Command A to select the entire artboard, and then Shift Command C to copy that. And then we're going to go to our original document with our group that we just made. And we're just going to press Shift Command V to paste that in place. And then we can basically clip it to that group. And it's going to add that dot pattern. And then from here, you can literally just add a levels adjustment above it. Something like that. And when you zoom in on it, you're at 100% obviously. So it's going to change color a little bit. It's going to appear darker when you zoom out because you're looking at it a lot smaller. So if you have problems with that, you can always make the dot pattern a little bigger. Instead of 8, we could have chose like 10. So if we were to mock it up now, let's select everything. We could just paste this onto our shirt here. And this is what it would look like on a shirt if you printed it really big. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I went over these techniques with you guys, but the main thing to take away from this is when you're compositing, you just need to use a soft round brush, or you can even try other brushes for a more stylistic look. That's my formula for creating more complicated designs like today. And I consider today's design more of a photo manipulation piece versus just a graphic, right? Because graphic design is all about solving problems. And obviously we're solving problems by making this design today. We're learning about it. But in my opinion, it goes more into art because we're using brushes to blend things and creating more of a piece that is a combination of different elements. So yeah, again, it's more complicated and it takes a little bit more time to learn, but the more you practice, the better you will get. Before I end today's video, I want to read a comment from one of my subscribers. I'm going to pick one of you every single video and read a comment. We're going to do that for as long as possible. So today's comment is by Melissa. I posted in my community tab about being lost sort of on what I wanted to do with the channel and my identity, and something I've struggled with for a long time. And she left me a really nice comment, and she says, yes, of course, you have a lifetime supporter over here with me, Charlie, and no need for apologies. We're all out here trying to figure this life shit out. Then she says, do what makes you happy. And then she says she can relate to my personal identity problem that I'm having. And then she goes on to say, so I look forward to seeing what you decide and what you choose to do. Loads of love your way. Thank you so much, Melissa. Honestly, again, it means the world to me having supporters like you. And I love reading your guys' comments. Hey, are you guys busy? Because I was going to ask you to come to LA with me, where I checked out Applique's warehouse and learned all about direct to garment printing. Yeah, it's a really great video. You definitely want to check it out.